Charlie from DM Sound, and today we've got the sound system demo on the 2025 Volvo EX30 and its 9-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. This is going to be an in-depth review. We're going to take a look at how the infotainment system works, take a look at audio inputs, adjustments, controls, speaker locations. We're going to test out the 5.1 capabilities, and then we're going to head out on the road and listen to these sample tracks while we're rolling, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end. Now, if you don't care about any of that stuff at the beginning and you just want to hear the music, click ahead in the video. We've got chapters to get you right to the tunes. And if you want to hear even more on this system, sign up below to become a Daily Motor member. I'm recording a members-only sound test using tracks requested by Daily Motor members, so it'll give you a further impression of the system and also help support the channel. And lastly, I recommend listening with headphones so you can hear exactly what I hear from the driver's seat. But before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. New model from Volvo, although entirely built in China, the Volvo EX30. Whew. This one coming in this bright look-at-me yellow. It's a nice car to drive around. It's got a lot of merits, also a few key sticking points, which we're going to talk about in this video as well as the full review. So if you want to see more on the car, check the link below. We've got a highway range test and the full pros and cons review, as well as that members-only sound test. Now, we typically do this test with lossless, uncompressed WAV files played on a USB stick. However, despite having 4 USB-C ports in this car, they're all charge only. They don't provide a data connection into the infotainment screen. So I'm having to rely on Bluetooth to play these tracks. Now that is going to be compressed. It's using AAC, so it should be fairly high quality, but it's not going to be uncompressed as we usually test vehicles. There is no way to get uncompressed audio into this system opposed from using the Amazon Music or Tidal services, I suppose. I don't know if those have a level of compression. I don't know what bit rate this car streams with. Also, theoretically, you could use Apple CarPlay if you had one of those devices and have a fairly high quality internet connection, but oh, it's stopped for a moment there. Interesting. But I think that would still be some degree of compression depending on the bit rate, and it would be going over Bluetooth. So we're using Bluetooth. That's the best we can do in this situation. But I do still have my high-quality Roland binaural microphones in both of my ears, giving you the most realistic audio system demo on YouTube. We also do the test with the sound settings set to their factory default. So let's take a look at those now. This vertically mounted infotainment screen, overall, I do quite like it. It's pretty easy to navigate around and use. Going over here to sound, we have quite a few adjustments. First, we have a sound focus between all driver and rear. Let's go through those. And that's not to be, why is that going so far down? Okay. That's not to be confused with a balance and fader. That's simply adjusting the timing and focus of the speakers to focus sound on certain areas. We'll leave it on all for most of the test, but we'll go back and forth between all and driver. Then you have Quantum Logic Surround, low, medium, high, and off, technically mid, I guess. Let's go through those. We're on off now, and we'll go up through the range. I'm not a huge fan of Quantum Logic's algorithm in this car. It gives the music quite a hollow sound. We used it quite a bit using the members-only tracks last night. I think it sounds best with it off. Certain sounds you might want to hear on high, though. Again, why are we getting so much interference? It's weird. It's stopping and starting. Then, below that all, you have an equalizer, and it's a 6-band equalizer. I like seeing that. We've got 60, 200, 500, 1.5, 4K, and 12K hertz. Back the track up a little bit, play around. We also have a dedicated subwoofer adjustment. So let's go through some of those. So you can really mess up your sound there. Yeah, that's a bop. I appreciate having that degree of adjustability in this type of car. I test at flat EQ for my tests because ultimately, this is how these sound engineers intend the system to sound. That's what they think sounds best. They're the professionals. EQ exists so that you can adjust based on your ear's preferences. So since this is a fairly standard review, we're just going to keep it on flat. But then you do have some presets. You have dynamic, soft, voice, and custom. Let's go through those. I like how they have some presets there, but ultimately it does sound pretty good at flat EQ. And that's it for audio adjustments. Surprisingly, no balance or fader, and that's probably because we have 5 speakers right in front of us, but we're going to talk about that here in a moment. For audio controls, here in the EX30, you have volume adjustment here on the screen. No physical control. You can you double tap it to mute or anything? No? All right, you just drag it down, mute, drag it around, or click. And then you have these buttons on the steering wheel, but you saw there is a degree of delay. And if you just hold, that mutes it. That's kind of nice to know. For track selection, again, no sort of physical controls. Also, it seems that though it's paused my music now. Go back to media, play. You have to be on this screen to do track controls or a driver's scout back and forth on the steering wheel. For audio inputs in the EX30, we talked about it a little bit already, but you do have Bluetooth. You have FM radio. I don't think we have AM, correct? Let's confirm here. Yeah, no AM radio, just FM radio. And then, other than that, this is an Android automotive-based system, so you have the Play Store, and you can install apps such as Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, Tidal, etc. And then you have Apple CarPlay support. So what does that mean you're missing? There's no USB, either A or C. There's no Sirius XM built in, no AM, no 3.5mm auxiliary input jack, obviously no CD in a car like this. So you've pretty much just got Bluetooth, FM, or the streaming services built in, or CarPlay. Speaker locations. This one's pretty unique. This is a 9-speaker system. Starting in the bottom left, nothing. No door speakers here. You've got everything in this sound bar in front of you. And I can see that being fairly advantageous from a sound perspective. However, I can also see it being advantageous from a cost-cutting perspective. So it's hard to tell exactly which one is best. I'm inclined to go it's a little erring toward cost-cutting because obviously the super high-end systems that we get from the top-level audio producers are still using speakers in the doors. But either way, up here we've got tweeter, mid-range, woofer, or kind of a mid-woofer, and then again on the other side, mid-range and tweeter. Then we've got a woofer buried in here somewhere in the front IP. That's giving us 6. That's independent of the soundbar. And then in the back doors, you've got these mid-rangers 7 and 8. And then underneath here, actually down around the wheel wells area, we've got a subwoofer giving us 9. Unfortunately, we can't see it from back here. Before we get on the road, let's do a quick 5.1 channel test. I'm curious how it handles it here with Bluetooth.
Album channel configuration test. Left, center, right, left surround.
Wow, that sounds weird.
Right surround. LFE.
Huh.
The immersive audio album channel configuration.
That doesn't sound right at all. Let's go into the middle of this track. You hear how hollow that sounds? That's really strange. I don't know if that's an artifact of the Bluetooth or what the deal is on that. Let's go back to the sound settings and turn on Quantum Logic to see if it changes. No, it's even more dramatic now.
Center. Right.
Huh.
Left surround.
So it's kind of down mixing to stereo, but listen to LFE.
Surround. LFE.
So the LFE channel is the only one that comes through as it's kind of supposed to. All the rest have this weird echo and hollowness. Very strange. All right, well, with that, let's get out on the road. system is the driving lower and upper bass force. The woofer up front here and the subwoofer in the back really work together as a team to bring you a nice drive to the music. And you're picking up on that on some of the earlier tracks here in this test, where it's a little bit simpler music and just a little bit more basic and satisfying there. However, when we got into these more complex tracks, I noticed a few problems. First of all, that last track, the Traveling Symphony, there was a crackle coming from the front. I actually noticed that with some of our members-only tracks as well, so that's concerning. And then as the music crescendoed and built and got louder and more complex, you didn't feel it around you. And that's perhaps fairly obvious with the fact we don't have any speakers around us, but still a bit disappointing that we've got decent quality speakers and they're well tuned, but you just can't do that much without the envelopment of speakers to the side. And then with this track, decently balanced, but again, not getting much of the soul and the power and the depth. And it's possible that some of that is coming from the fact, my hands are right here, don't worry, they've been on the wheel this whole time, right here. Some of that is the fact that, now I'm getting distracted because of the poor active lane keeping. We're playing through Bluetooth, so we're not dealing with the same degree of audio fidelity as we usually test, but disappointing nonetheless. For this next track though, we'll turn the bass all the way up, see how it handles it, and then switch to our heavier bass track as well. We'll do subwoofer, and we'll turn the 60 hertz all the way up too. Whoa! Alright, so definitely getting some distortion from, sounds like from those rear door speakers. If we turn that down, a little bit of flop. Not really earth-shattering by any means, though. EX30. It's a good example of how much goes into tuning an audio system for an automobile. You're not just dealing with something like a living room or a sound reference room where you've got a fixed listening position generally, or a pretty standard listening position, fixed environment. No, you're dealing with different road conditions, you're dealing with different speeds, you're dealing with different height drivers, you're dealing with a glass roof, and then all these different materials around the car. I mean, audio systems can sound different from one car to another just based on what seats are equipped in it. So there's so much more that goes into the system than just how it sounds. Now, some things that the EX30 has going for it are the quietness of the cabin, and I can barely remember how to just get back to the media screen here. Very frustrating. And it looks like I can't back up my track anyway, so I guess... Side note, the system is frustrating. The more time you spend with it, the more frustrating it is to do simple aspects of using the screen. Anyway, the car is quiet. It has a lot going for it in that regard, because that helps your more subtle music come through. And the fact that we're going over a concrete highway right now at technically 70 GPS miles per hour is pretty good. But then you have aspects such as, like I said earlier, I bet you it was the not audio engineers who said, look, we're going to go with a sound bar here in the car. We're going to save money by not having door speakers, so you have to work with that. And the sound engineers essentially did their best. I think for what we're dealing with here, for the number of speakers and where they're placed, the audio engineers did a pretty darn good job. The speakers sound good, and they're decently balanced. But you're limited in how the audio is going to sound based on where the speakers are, how many there are, and what format you're able to play with. So all of that being said, objectively, I shouldn't use the word objectively, strictly talking about sound quality, no price or vehicle type considered, this is a strong B, upper B range. Like I said, some of your tracks, your more basic ones, are going to sound really good. There's a good bass coming through this car, and the different parts of the audio are decently well balanced. But when you turn up the more complex music, there's just only so much that these 5 speakers in front of us can do in order to create a holistic listening experience. It's limiting it from getting up to that A tier. That being said, given the price point of this car and given the fact that it is electric, I'm going to let it sneak in with the very, very lowest of A's, because you look at the price points of something like an Ioniq or an EV6 or a Mach-E or an Equinox EV or something like that, which I know a lot of those are bigger cars, but when we're talking about EVs with similar range and price, this car does sound a good bit better than those. The only one that beats it is the Tesla, and I would love to have a formal review of the Tesla up. Unfortunately, Tesla doesn't give out media cards very much, and I've asked multiple times, never gotten one, so that's on them. But I think you're going to be decently satisfied if you care about audio in an EV at this price point. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the EX30, check the link below, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from DM Sound, and as always, drive on. Oh, and these audio controls are not good. I need a scroller.